Manipulation psychology. Don't control people directly, control their desires. I want to start today with a question that most people are afraid to ask out loud. Have you ever wanted someone to do something, and they refused? A client who wouldn't buy, a boss who wouldn't listen, a partner who wouldn't budge, a team that wouldn't follow. And in that moment, did you ever think, how do I get them to do what I need them to do? Of course you did. Every person alive has had that thought. And if you say you haven't, you either lying to yourself or you lived an unusually passive life. Today, we're going to talk about manipulation. Not the dark, dishonest kind that destroys relationships and ruins lives, but the psychological science behind why people do what they do, and how understanding that science makes you dramatically more effective in every area of your life. The title of today's conversation is, Don't Control People Directly, Control Their Desires. And by the time we're done, you're going to see the world very differently. You're going to understand why some people seem to effortlessly get what they want, in business, in relationships, in leadership, while others push harder and harder and get less and less. The difference is not effort, it's understanding. Let me start with the most important principle of this entire conversation. You cannot force a person to want something. Read that again. You cannot force a person to want something. You can threaten people into compliance. You can bribe people into temporary cooperation. You can guilt people into short-term behavior. But all of these methods share one catastrophic flaw. The moment the pressure is removed, the behavior stops. And worse, it creates resentment. And resentment is the slow poison that kills every relationship, every team, every partnership. The most powerful form of influence in the world is not force. It is alignment. When what someone already wants naturally leads them toward what you need, you don't have to push them at all. They move on their own. Willingly, enthusiastically, and they don't even feel influenced. They feel like they made a choice. That is the art. That is the psychology. And that is what we're going to break down today. Let's go back to the beginning. Why do people do anything? Psychologists and philosophers have been wrestling with this question for centuries. And while the answers are complex, they converge on something remarkably simple. People act to satisfy desires. Every single action a human being takes, from drinking water to building a business to starting a war, is driven by an underlying desire. The desires might be obvious: hunger, safety, comfort, money, recognition. Or they might be hidden. The desire to feel superior, the desire to be seen as a good person, the desire to belong, the desire to avoid shame, the desire to feel in control. Most people, when they want someone to do something, focus on the action. I need them to sign this contract. I need them to agree with me in this meeting. I need them to change this behavior. And they attack the action directly. They argue, they explain, they plead, they pressure. But the most psychologically sophisticated people, the great negotiators, the great leaders, the great salespeople, the great communicators, they go one level deeper. They don't target the action. They target the desire. They ask, what does this person already want? And how do I position my request as the path to that desire? That's the shift, and it changes everything. Now let's talk about the 6 most powerful human desires. Because once you know these, you have the map. The first desire, the desire to feel significant. Every human being, at their core, wants to feel that they matter, that their life has meaning, that other people recognize their value. This desire is so powerful that people will sacrifice money, time, comfort, and relationships just to feel significant. They will start arguments they know they can't win, just to feel heard. They will reject good advice, just to feel in control. They will turn down opportunities, just to not feel indebted. Once you understand this, you understand why direct commands fail. When you tell someone what to do, especially without acknowledging them, you are implicitly communicating that their judgment doesn't matter, that you know better, that they are a means to your end. And their desire for significance rises up like a wall. And suddenly, they not just deciding whether to agree with you, they deciding whether to defend their sense of self. But when you make someone feel significant first, when you acknowledge their expertise, their perspective, their past contributions, that wall comes down. They become open. Because their desire for significance has been satisfied, they no longer need to protect it. Dale Carnegie understood this more than a century ago. His most famous principle was not a manipulation trick. It was a psychological truth. Give people a sense of importance, and they will give you almost anything. The second desire, the desire to be right. Here is one of the most misunderstood truths about persuasion. People don't want to change their mind. They want to be right. This seems like a problem, but it's actually your greatest tool. When you argue with someone, you create a battle of rightness. One person wins, one person loses. And the person who loses doesn't walk away convinced, they walk away defeated. And defeated people look for revenge, not cooperation. But what if instead of trying to prove someone wrong, you found a way to let them be right, while also getting where you need to go? Here's how this works in practice. Instead of correcting someone, you build on their position. Instead of saying, "That won't work," you say, "That's an interesting direction. What if we also included this element?" You not surrendering your position. You refolding it into theirs. Instead of presenting your idea as yours, you sometimes let the other person arrive at your conclusion themselves. Ask questions that guide their thinking. And when they land on the idea you needed them to have, don't say, "Yes, that's what I've been saying." Let them have the victory. Let them be right. The goal is not to win the argument. The goal is to achieve the outcome. Keep those two separate in your mind, and you will become dramatically more effective. The third desire, the desire for safety and certainty. The human brain is wired, at a very deep biological level, to avoid loss more than it seeks gain. This is called loss aversion, and it was documented extensively by Nobel Prize-winning psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. What this means practically is that the pain of losing something is roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining something equivalent. So when you trying to influence someone, whether you reselling a product, proposing a change, asking for investment, framing matters enormously. If you say, "This will help you gain more clients," you appealing to desire for gain. Decent. If you say, "Without this, you losing clients to your competitors every single day," you appealing to the desire to avoid loss. Powerful. Both statements can be equally true, but one activates a far more primal desire, the desire to protect what's already theirs. This is not about fear mongering. This is about accurate framing. If the risk is real, communicating it clearly is not manipulation, it's honesty. The manipulation would be to invent a risk that doesn't exist. The fourth desire, the desire to belong. Human beings are social creatures. We evolved in tribes. And for most of human history, being rejected by your tribe meant death. The need to belong is not a soft emotional preference. It is a survival mechanism written into our DNA. This desire manifests in a behavior you see every day, social proof. When people are uncertain about what to do, they look at what others, especially others they respect or identify with, are doing, and they follow. This is why testimonials work. Why people check restaurant reviews before eating. Why investor meetings always involve questions about who else is investing. Why every time you tell someone everyone's talking about this, their interest spikes. When you align your request with what the person's tribe is doing or values, you lower the psychological cost of compliance dramatically. It no longer feels like a personal risk. It feels like joining a group. Most senior leaders in your industry have already adopted this approach. This is what the top 10% of performers in your field are doing. Your peers who made this move have found it to be transformational. You not making up facts. You resurfacing real social context that activates their desire to belong. The fifth desire, the desire for autonomy. Here's the paradox at the center of all influence. People desperately want to feel that their choices are their own. The moment someone feels coerced, even if what you asking is genuinely in their interest, they resist. Psychologists call this psychological reactance. When people feel their freedom is threatened, they automatically push back to restore it. This is why the harder you push, the more they resist. This is why ultimatums backfire. This is why the parent who says, "You must take this career path," produces a child who rebels. This is why the boss who micromanages produces a team that does the minimum. The solution is elegant. Give people choices. Real choices, or at least the feeling of real choices. Instead of, "You need to decide by Friday," say, "Would you prefer to finalize this by Thursday or Friday?" Instead of, "You have to use this approach," say, "Here are two approaches that both work well, which feels right for your situation?" The destination is the same, but in the first version, you reissuing a command. In the second, you honoring their autonomy. And people who feel autonomous are cooperative, engaged, and far more likely to go beyond what's asked. This is the single most misunderstood principle in leadership. Control kills initiative. Autonomy, even structured, bounded autonomy, creates ownership. And ownership creates performance. The sixth desire, the desire for a better self-image. Every person carries an internal story about who they are, what kind of person they are, what their values are, what they're capable of. And here is the psychological key. People act in ways that are consistent with their self-image. If someone sees themselves as generous, they will find it very difficult to act stingily, especially when their generosity is acknowledged. If someone sees themselves as a leader, they will rise to challenges that confirm that identity. If someone sees themselves as a fair person, pointing out when their behavior has been unfair is far more effective than arguing about the specifics of what they did. The most sophisticated influencers understand this deeply. They don't just make requests. They attribute identity. I am asking you because you someone who understands long-term thinking. You've always been the person on this team who doesn't back down from hard problems. I know you someone who values honesty, so I want to have a direct conversation. You not flattering them. You reminding them of who they told you they are, and then making your request consistent with that identity. And now, refusing you means contradicting their own self-image, which is psychologically uncomfortable. Compliance becomes the path of least internal resistance. Now I want to talk about something that's probably on your mind, because I can feel the discomfort in this topic. Is all of this manipulation? And is manipulation wrong? Let's be honest about this, because I think the conversation about manipulation is usually too simplistic. Here is the distinction that matters: the intent and the honesty. Dark manipulation is when you exploit someone's desires to get them to do something that serves you and harms them. When you create false urgency, fake scarcity, fabricated social proof. When you manufacture fear that isn't real. When you exploit someone's insecurities to sell them something they don't need. When you use these tools to bypass someone's rational judgment and extract from them. That is manipulation, and it is wrong. Not just ethically, strategically, because it destroys trust. And a world without trust is a world where you have to start over with every person, every time. It is exhausting and ultimately empty. But there is another form of influence, one that is ethical, powerful, and sustainable. It is understanding what people genuinely want, and genuinely helping them see how your proposal, your product, your idea, or your request serves that desire. The difference is truth. Are you finding a real alignment, or are you fabricating one? A doctor who explains your health risk clearly to get you to make an appointment is not manipulating you. A salesperson who manufactures a false deadline is. A leader who gives their team autonomy because they genuinely believe in it is not manipulating them. A manager who gives fake choices while secretly controlling all outcomes is. The framework for all of this is simple. Ask yourself, if this person knew everything I know, about what I want, how I am framing it, and what will happen, would they still feel the influence was fair? If yes, you in the ethical zone. If no, you crossed a line. Let me now give you the practical architecture, the step-by-step process for applying everything we discussed. I call this the DESIRE framework. 6 steps. D. Discover what they actually want. Before any conversation where you need to influence someone, do your research. What does this person value? What are they worried about? What does success look like to them? What have they complained about? What are they proud of? In live conversations, ask questions before making requests. What's your biggest priority right now? What would an ideal outcome look like for you? What's been the main challenge you've been navigating? Most people skip this entirely. They come in with their agenda and start pushing, and they wonder why they face resistance. The answer is always the same. They never stop to understand the terrain they were walking into. Establish genuine connection. Before you influence, you must connect. And connection is not small talk for its own sake. Connection is the signal you send that says, I see you as a full human being, not just an obstacle or an instrument. Make eye contact. Use their name. Reference something they said previously. Ask a follow-up question that proves you were actually listening last time. Acknowledge something real about their situation. This is not a technique to deploy mechanically. It's a mindset to carry genuinely. And if you don't genuinely find people interesting, you will struggle with influence forever. Because people can always feel the difference between authentic interest and performed interest. Surface the relevant desire. Once you understand what they want and you built connection, now you activate the relevant desire. Bring it to the surface in the conversation. If their core desire is significance, acknowledge their expertise before making your request. If their desire is safety, bring the risk of inaction into the conversation. If their desire is autonomy, present options. You not creating the desire from nothing. The desire was already there. You just turning on the light in that room. Integrate your request into their desire. Now you position what you need as the natural path toward what they already want. This is the core move. Not, here's what I need you to do. But, given what you told me, given that you want X, here's how this move serves that. The request stops being your agenda. It becomes their logical next step. Their brain is no longer asking, why should I do this for them? It's asking, how do I get what I want? And your solution is the answer. Respect their decision process. Give people time and space. Urgency you impose feels like pressure. Urgency they feel themselves is motivation. After you made your case, don't hover, don't push, don't follow up twice in the same hour. Trust the process. And give them the psychological room to arrive at a decision that feels like their own. Earn the long game. Every interaction either builds or erodes your influence capital. The most powerful influencers in any context, in business, in leadership, in relationships, are the ones who have built deep reserves of trust and credibility over time. Deliver on your promises. Be consistent. Show up when it's inconvenient. Care about the other person's outcomes, not just your own. Be the person whose influence people welcome, because experience has taught them that your influence reliably leads somewhere good. This is the only form of influence that compounds. Everything else decays. Let's talk about some specific contexts where this applies. In sales, the worst salespeople are the ones who walk in with a script and start talking. The best salespeople are the ones who walk in with questions. They learn what the client is actually worried about, not what they assume the client is worried about, and then they solve for that. Their product becomes not a product they're reselling, but a solution the client is seeking. In leadership, the worst managers direct through authority. Do this because I said so. The best leaders create context. They help their team understand why the work matters, how it connects to what the team cares about, and what the consequences of an action look like. And then they get out of the way. The team moves not because they were pushed, but because they see clearly where they want to go. In negotiation, the worst negotiators fight for positions. I need this price. I need this timeline. I need these terms. The best negotiators negotiate on interests. They ask, what does the other side actually need under this position? And they find creative arrangements that satisfy both sets of underlying interests. The position was never the point. The desire behind it was. In relationships, personal and professional, the worst communicators try to change behavior through criticism. The best communicators try to understand the desire behind the behavior. Why is this person doing this? What are they trying to get? And is there a way to help them get that, in a way that also works for you? There's one more concept I want to share before we close, and it might be the most important of all. The most durable form of influence is not when you move people toward something once. It's when you help them become the kind of person who naturally moves in that direction on their own. This is called transformational influence, and it's the highest level. When a great mentor helps you see yourself differently, as capable of more than you thought, they change not just your behavior, but your identity. And identity level change is permanent. When a great leader creates a culture where people feel ownership and pride, they don't need to manage behavior anymore. The culture manages it. The identity of the group manages it. When a great teacher makes a student fall in love with learning, they don't need to motivate that student ever again. The desire itself has been activated at the source. This is the ultimate aspiration of everything we discussed today. Not to pull strings, not to press buttons, but to genuinely understand people so deeply that you can help them see their own desires more clearly, and help them build a path toward those desires that includes you, your work, your mission, your product, your vision. When you do this right, influence stops being something you do to people. It becomes something you create with them. Let me bring this home with something real. You know why most people fail to get what they want? It's not because they're not smart enough. It's not because they don't work hard enough. It's not because they don't have good ideas. It's because they spend all of their energy on what they want, and almost none of it on understanding what the other person wants. They walk into every conversation, every negotiation, every pitch, every difficult discussion, centered on themselves. And then they reconfused when the other person doesn't respond. The most powerful reframe you can take from today is this: your success is downstream of other people's desires. Not their cooperation, not their permission, their desires. What they already, genuinely, deeply want. Find that. Align with it. Serve it honestly. And you won't need to push people toward anything. They'll pull you along. That is the psychology of real influence. That is the strategy that doesn't burn out, doesn't create enemies, and doesn't require you to compromise who you are. That is the difference between manipulating people and understanding them. And understanding, deep, genuine, strategic understanding, is the most powerful force in any human interaction. Use it well.